Hello. Today we're going to look at a problem that I've seen happen a lot of times with people who are new to Git. And so we're going to say, okay, we're wanting to create a GitHub repo. So let's go ahead and go here. I've got another video about how to create a repo the right way. This time we're going to talk about, so I'm going to skip some of the steps I was explaining before. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to log in, create a new repo, name it my-repo, and we are going to create repository. Okay, so you've gotten this, and you're like, oh, okay, well, great. I want to create a new repository on the command line. Cool, let's do this. And we just go paste. Ta-da. Oh, that's great. That looks good. Except that now you realize, wait, I'm supposed to. So then later you maybe come along and you say, I want to go into CD repo. Oh, repos. Yes. And inside of here, ls, it's empty, so I need to create a folder called my repo with the mk directory, make directory, my-repo. Okay. So now if I go into here, my-repo, and I want to add something, let's go touch, and so we'll add a readme. Actually, let's just say that now, like, okay, so now actually I realize now I really want to do this. Before I didn't do it right. I'm going to do it in the right place this time. So now, when I paste these, git init, initialized, add readme was added, git commit, first commit, git branch set, add remote origin, all went well. All right, great. All I have left to do is push. Oh no, I have a weird error. Failed to push some refs to Git. Why can't I push? The remote contains work that you do not have locally. Well, if you haven't caught on to what happened here, is that you started by running the same, copying the same thing to create this GitHub repo in the home directory. So the first time we ran it, we were, if you scroll back up, the first time I ran this, you did git init, but you were in the home directory. This tilde means you're in the home directory. So we're going to go back, cd with nothing, takes you to the home directory. And if I do pwd from here, this is home tim. This is my home directory. So if you initialize a Git repo in the home directory, this is a big problem. So first thing you have to do, the good thing is that you can find this. So if I type ls-a, you can identify, okay, this is going to output everything in the home directory. If I scroll up, there's going to be a .git file right here. This is what happens whenever you create an initialized Git repo. It creates a .git folder, and it has all the information it needs to track and to basically make this Git repository. Also, another way of seeing this is if you go, that you have this problem, is if you go into your, I'm going to hit CD dash to go back to the previous folder I was in. So in my repo, if I do git status, actually that doesn't really tell you anything. So if I were to do git status before I ran the, so if I were to go back one and I do git status here, I get something that looks like this. If you get something that looks like this, that means that you've created the Git repo in a folder outside of the folder that you're in. So right now I am in, if I type pw print working directory, I am in tim repos. If it has two dots is going back one directory, right? So if I cd repos again, so if there's two dots, what that means is on this, that means that the repo was created, the Git repo was one folder behind this. So because I'm in repo, if I pwd, I'm in repos and I get this, that means it's in the tim folder. So I need to go back, cd again takes me to home. So now if I go back there and I go ls-a, again we'll see it when we scroll up here, and There it is right there. So this is the culprit right here. It's going to cause us some major problems. This is why we can't push our GitHub repository, the second one that we created. So now what we need to do is we need to remove this. So rm-rf .git and autocomplete. And I hit tab and it autocompletes and make sure I got the right name, and then I hit enter, and that removes it. So now if I type ls-a, -a is for all, which means it shows hidden files and folders. .git is always going to be a hidden folder. So if I scroll back up to where the Git was, it is not here anymore. So we have a git config, which is actually something that belongs here as a part of the setup. So this is good. Leave this here, but the .git folder is gone. So now, if I type git, if I go back, if I type git status here, not a Git repository. Great. That means that we got it. We don't want our home directory to be a Git repository. So if I now type cd repos, go back to my repos and go back into my repo. So now if I try to do a push, so if you remember back here, everything worked until we got to the git push origin main, right? I go back up here, you can see this, right? So the commit, the remote add, so it means we added a commit, we created a commit, we added it, we set the branch, we added the remote, in other words, we linked it to the GitHub repo on GitHub, on the website, and the only thing that failed was this command right here, git push. So what we want, it says, updates rejected because the remote contains work that you do not. So let's try this again. Now we deleted the repo in that location, which was important cleanup. If I run this again, you'll see it's still broken. So now why is it broken? Well, the reason it's broken is because now you have a situation where, so if I type ls here to list the files in here, you can see I have a README here. Well, if I type cd and I do ls, you'll see that there's a README here that I created. This README is different than this README. So Git recognizes that those aren't the same thing, and that the previous push was not the same as this repository. And so whenever you are trying to go back there, when you're trying to push from this repo, it's not the same as trying to push from the other repo you created in your home directory. So what that means is that the easiest way to fix this, there's some ways you can go about to try to go inside the repo and make different changes, but frankly, it gets really complicated. In this situation, what happened is that you successfully pushed. So that means to check if you successfully push, you can actually go up here and just hit my repo, and you've got a README that looks like it has my repo in it 3 times, which is interesting. But so it looks like we actually have a file called readme.md, right? So our readme.md, if I hit the edit button here, you can see somehow I got 3 my repos in there. I'm not sure how that happened, but usually you're only going to want it. It doesn't matter. So if I go back out here, but regardless, this is your README. It has 3 lines in it, 3 lines of text in it, but you have 1 README here. So the problem is that it already has a README in it, and I added a README here, and this is a different README. In fact, if I cat this README, cat is a command that will display the contents of this of any file. If you type cat and then the name of the file, it'll display the contents, and you can see this just has 1 my repo in it. This is 1 line of my repo. This one has 3. So probably because this one up here somehow has 3. I'm not sure how that happened, but regardless, it happened. So what we want to do here is we want to go cd ... to go out of this repo. So now if I type ls, there's the folder for my repo. and I just want to nuke this folder. So what I'm going to do is rm-rf my-repo. Again, the rm-rf command is very dangerous. Use it very carefully. The things that you delete with this, -r stands for recursive. It means it's going to delete anything, any folders, files, or anything inside this folder as well. Even if there's a folder inside of a folder inside of a folder, it'll delete everything all the way down. And 4F stands for force, which means it won't ask for permissions. It's just going to do it. So if there's anything you don't have permission to delete, doesn't matter. It's still going to be deleted. So this is a very dangerous thing to do. You got to make sure you're very careful with using this command. It's a powerful command. So rm for remove -rf my repo, and we just did that. So now we don't have that repo anymore. Now there's a very simple way to go about fixing this and getting, so because we've already pushed something, we already have something in here. What we can do is we can go up to this code button right here, and I have SSH. I've set up an SSH key. So I would use this link. If you don't have a SSH key, you would need to use this link. This is HTTPS. But what we're going to do is we're going to clone the repo. This says clone here because this is the this is how you clone a repo. So I'm going to copy this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type git clone, and then I'm going to paste that. I guess it's a URL, and you're going to paste that in here. And basically, what we're going to do is just hit enter. And now, if I type ls, it's back. But now this repo is the actual repo that is this repo. So now if we go into this repo, cd my repo, you'll see, and I cat this readme, it's got 3 lines of my repo, which let's go ahead and make a commit to fix those. So if this is where I'm going to use vim. If I type vi readme, this takes me into vim. With vim, there's some interesting commands. I'm going to just type dd twice. That's going to delete a line. I type dd again, that's going to delete a line. So now, if I type :wq, that's write quit, and that lets me save that. So now if I type git status, I have a change. I have modified. So now if I type cat readme to display the contents of that, it's only got 1 myrepo line in it. So now if I do a git add dot, I have to add to my staging area for Git, which is a concept inside of Git. So git add, now I type git status, and it's green because it's now in the staging area. See, it says it's staged. But let's go ahead and do a commit. So git commit -m for message, and second, or we'll say clean up readme. And all right, so now if I get status, it says, well, my branch is ahead of origin main, which is the one in GitHub, by 1 commit. That's the commit I just made. So now I just type git push, and we're good.